Organic. And Dr. Melillo, what I want to show people is our next generation of cattle. I explained to you that we want a cow that can take this forage, capturing the power of the sun, and turn it into milk, later cheese, aramasi, and meat to give us nutrients, capturing the power of the sun, giving us those biophotons. But in order to do it, we need a cow that can walk. And these modern cows that are very big in the udder, weak in the leg, don't cut it. We want them to be able to graze and sometimes walk a mile a day. And so we are infusing Indian genetics, and you see really an example, those really beautiful white and brown calves with the floppy ears. That is what we call a zebu cross. They have genetics from the Bos indicus species of cattle, which only produces beta-casein A2. They're parasite resistant, can handle the heat. They come from India, Africa, and Middle East, and they are ideal for our environment here, turning grass into milk and meat. But here's something that I wanted to share. You're not going to see this in any dairy you go to in America. You might find this normal, babies nursing on moms, but that's not how dairy goes in America. Organic, conventional, you name it, the baby's pulled away, the mom goes to the milk parlor, the baby's raised either on a pool of milk or formula and pellets. Why? Because they need the milk from the mom. We have an entirely separate herd just to raise the babies. Here's why. We did a small experiment. We never raised in those crates that the other dairies do. I went to an organic grass-fed dairy and I said, what's this? It looked like a dog kennel. This was where the calf spent its first 6 months. Couldn't move. They were fed, but they were kept healthy because they're so fragile. We believe through experimentation that a group of calves that we raised together, so we didn't raise them in a crate, we had a group of children, so to speak. They cuddled, they kept each other warm, and then the same generation group raised on the mom. The group that were raised together got mother's milk, fed to them in a bottle. The group raised with the mom got the nurturing and the companionship. They weighed 25% more, and they reached breeding age or maturation 25% sooner. So we decided no matter what the investment it would take, we were going to do a dairy that entirely raised our calves on the mom, because if they're going to become our future, they need the immune system, they need the strength. We don't believe in vaccinations like other organic dairies do. So this is what we do. It's worth the investment. And you can see these babies were born 7 to 12 days ago, and look how strong they are, look how beautiful they are. Wow. Why is this important? What does this have to do with food? It has everything to do with food. Because the people that we're called upon to coach in health, to help lead in education, they deserve the best, and that's why we want to do the most natural thing possible. The word natural doesn't mean much anymore, but we believe the Beyond Organic way is the only way to go.
You know, it's interesting because when you look at all the research from years ago on neuroplasticity, it was all using putting rats, but putting them into impoverished cages where they weren't allowed to move or interact with others, and versus enriched cages where they were allowed to move and they were interacting with others. And we know what that created was a much better brain, a much larger brain. And you know what my research has shown in humans and in all animals really is that if your brain isn't active, then you get all these inflammatory chemicals, you get an increase in stress hormones. So even if you're not pumping these hormones into them, and even if you're not doing that, they're going to have natural elevations of it if their brain isn't healthy. And primarily in all babies or calves, what builds their brain is movement.
Yep.
So if they're not moving, if they're not interacting with their mothers or with other species, then they're not going to build a healthy brain. And if they don't have a healthy brain, they can't have a healthy body. And it shouldn't be good for us to eat it.
Sure.
So it really makes a lot of sense.
And raised together is great, but raised on mom,
right.
Whether it's the milk on demand, as you can see from that little one right there, or just the fact that when they're scared or when something happens, they need their mother. But it's amazing to see that difference. It convinced us to bite the bullet, invest in a larger herd. We don't do things just to be different, but we do things with the end result in mind, because every little change matters. And so it's exciting to see this beautiful group of babies. These calves are so voracious and so healthy. You'll see them 2 days after being born jumping. These are the future of Beyond Organic, and we believe the future of the health of America. And here's the best part, Dr. Melillo. As brain balance spreads around the world, this can spread too. We don't want to keep this, we want to share this. We're raising genetics to share with others, so as the demand rises for this milk and this meat, we want to meet it not just through us, but through farms everywhere. Apparently she's happy about
Well, you know, again, it's the same principles we want with our kids, is for them to be raised better. Part of the reason why we see this epidemic of these neurodevelopmental disorders is because kids aren't moving, they're not interacting, they're not spending as much time with their parents, and their brain isn't developing, and we shouldn't be eating food that isn't from animals that have their brain developed appropriately.
So you might need to write a book about the farming industry called The Disconnected Cow.
Yeah, that's next.
But the truth is, anything that's disconnected from its environment is going to do worse.
Right.
We can't improve on creation. We're not doing anything unique. We're doing things the way they used to be done.
They're supposed to
And
be.
as we're going to see in a future video, we're going to be showing how technology meets the best of ancient wisdom in a few moments, because it's not just about how you get the product, it's what you do with it afterwards. So
Right.
stay tuned.
That's great.